there's only one beer left. Rappers screaming all in our ears like we're deaf. Tempt me, do a number on the label. Beat up all the MCs and drink them under the table like it's on me. Put it on my tab, kid, however you get there. Foot it.
Remember when Kumail got jacked?
I think he's still jacked, but yes.
Yeah, he is.
Uh-huh.
And boy, he's catching flack for it.
He is?
Well, when it first happened, almost 18 months ago.
It's been a while.
2 years ago.
Yeah.
Because that movie's in the can.
Yeah.
It has been all year.
Right.
He did a lot. He did a couple thirst posts. That's what you do.
Yeah, right.
Right? Just to let people know it's good for your brand.
Sure.
Happily married.
Yeah.
But letting people know.
Yeah.
That his wife's happy too.
Right.
And he, apparently has kept that level of fitness all throughout 2020.
Good for him.
To the point where he had posted something recently, and I don't know how thirsty it was, but it was like in the picture on Instagram, it was clear that he, was still buff.
Yeah.
And he was getting flack for it. People were like, what? Look at this guy. What does he think? Oh, we get it. Oh, you're hot. Oh, all that horrible stuff that we said when the first pictures first came out. And people are surprised that he has maintained this.
I'm not that surprised.
Everybody else, we're all 25 pounds minimum heavier.
Yeah, I guess.
And he's still like, oh, let me get that for you. Oh, no, honey, I ripped another shirt.
But he's got, money and help, right? To make that happen.
I suppose, but he must be under a similar restriction as a good person who definitely wears a mask and stays away from public places, especially in California, which... Yes, it's our most populous state, but also has, one of the biggest proportions of case rates.
Well, maybe he has his own home gym or something.
Do the indoor kids seem like home gym people?
I don't know.
Okay, so in the old days, I literally read the trades. Like I would get variety. Now I read the blogs, which is kind of like reading the trades. And I'll tell you why it's kind of like that. Because in addition to telling you, what new horror M. Night Shyamalan's going to inflict on us in a few years, it also just has they do the house things like, Big Bang starlet Katie Coco, she's going to offload her $13 million ranch house or whatever.
Right.
Not ranch house. I mean on a ranch.
Right.
And I haven't seen anything for Kumail, but would they really be?
I don't know. I'm just
They seem like really
here.
nice condo people. He hasn't made that much. The movie hasn't come out yet.
Okay, but if you have a condo, you probably...
Or there's a lot of houses in Silver Lake or whatever that are vintage for Silver Lake. They're 70 years old, 75 years old, and they're all remodeled and they're nice and stuff like that. The kind of houses that oh boy, I hope my bakery business is going to get off the ground, and you go home and I'm so sad. And it's just like this beautiful, wood floors, ficus trees.
Right. Well, maybe he just has, I don't know. I'm just trying to figure out how he can keep this up. Maybe he just has his own weights.
He does something. He clearly does something.
Yeah.
He clearly does something. He has more than one resistance band.
Right.
And maybe one of those things where you throw your legs up in the air and you're going as a Pilates machine or whatever.
Right.
But anyway, the point is that people have pointed out that they think it's weird. And then now the backlash to the backlash has come where people are like, what do you do, pick on Chris Pratt because he's just, buff or whatever?
I was thinking of Chris Pratt, actually, when you were talking about Kumail, because he's somebody else who, funny guy, not fit, and then in an Avengers film, and then
putting those crosses up, burns a lot of calories.
Oh, yeah, I know.
Plus, I have to imagine that just it's something genetic for the Schwarzeneggers, right?
Oh my god!
I don't know how buff Catherine is, but she probably has the idea of a fitness regimen sort of.
Oh, I would think so. Yeah.
So Chris Pratt was always just a tall, skinny guy, and then he was a tall, skinny guy who was not getting a lot of acting work, and that you put on
some pounds.
Yeah, and then you get now I've got a new category of acting work I can get, which is fat slob guy.
Yeah, right.
And then he gets the Marvel job, and then it's why would you ever go back?
Right.
If you can avoid it.
Right.
But when you've got Chris Pratt money, you can have somebody come to your house.
You're absolutely right.
I just don't see that. I mean,
for Camille,
I'm glad that he's successful enough to be able to do that, but it is a little strange.
It is a little strange. Yeah, especially in a year where everybody else, like you said, is putting on the pounds.
Yeah.
But I've actually I know a couple of or I'm aware of a couple of people who have actually like lost weight and gotten fit during this year.
Like who?
Well, there's this girl that I went to college with who is a newscaster in another state. And yeah, I know. But she like has lost a lot of weight and she's gotten pretty fit, and she like posts her videos of her working out like online, and she's doing it at her house. She, she has like weights and stuff like that there, and she's doing other like exercises and stuff like that. So
it's I've heard it before, and in the times in my life when I guess have been in pretty good shape, I can kind of confirm, but there is an element of vanity to it, right?
Well, yeah.
And if you don't have that and you don't care how you look, then you're not going to look good, probably, right?
Yeah.
And the new century, the new millennium, the 21st century version of vanity is social media engagement, right? Because you think like, of course, she's an on-camera personality.
Yeah.
She's not only is she going to do this, but she's going to document it because she is a chronicler and a journalist.
Right.
And maybe has a higher percentage of vanity than, say, you or I do.
Maybe.
Which is weird because we're both performers. So, like, that's what it is. Like, I just have to get serious about it, and I have to start, like, posting pictures of my journey.
Right.
And hate
or
myself
videos.
for my vanity.
Right.
But I can hate myself all the way to the ab bank.
Right. You can hate yourself and be like, look at how far I've gone. Look at these abs I got now.
What's the ab bank, precious? That's where you go and I got too many abs. I'm going to deposit a few. I got a 17 pack. I only need 6.
Yeah.
And we're just going to put these away for a rainy day.
Yeah, exactly.
So anyway, continued success and good luck to Camille.
Yeah.
I want to see this stupid movie that you're in already. Come on.
I know.
Let's just show it. Just show it already.
It's going to be a while yet. I think October is what it's predicted to be.
I don't know.
Now.
We just went over that.
I think
the other day.
It could change, but yeah, I think it's October.
As part of scheduling for this show, and I've forgotten already. I can't. It's going to take a while assuming it does. It's going to take a while to get used to time starting again. There being an actual flow of days, and it probably for the first 6 months of this year, we will all be trapped in this Twilight Netherworld still.
Yeah, COVID is still going strong,
and it was stronger than ever. And what I understand about these things is you do reshoots on everything, especially on effects-heavy movies like a Marvel movie.
Sure.
So you get super ripped before the movie starts shooting, then you shoot the movie, then you wrap, and you immediately go have a double chili cheeseburger, and maybe a couple like a pizza sandwich, which is like pizza.
Disgusting.
2 pizzas inside, whatever filling you want.
Cheese, obviously.
And then, the reshoots are scheduled for, 6 months down the road.
Uh-huh.
And so, maybe you do it if you're already a workouter, or if you're Paul Rudd, then the studio just calls you up and goes, ring, ring, we're sending Armando out to you on Tuesday, and you're going to start getting back into the shape that you'll need to be for the reshoots.
Mm-hmm.
But Camille said, nah, screw that. I'm just going to
keep it up.
Be carved out of wood.
Yeah,
for the rest of my life.
Yeah, well, maybe he just likes how he looks that much. That he's like,
I like it too.
Are you jealous?
I'm jealous.
Okay.
Anyway, because and the thing is that I'll never look good no matter what.
What do you mean?
Like I'm playing Assassin's Creed Valhalla right now.
Yeah.
If you put me in an Animus, that's what would come up, right? Mm-hmm. That's literally. Those are my people.
Yeah, right.
That's in my genetic memory.
Yeah.
Although I'm sure I was my ancestors were, that's right, we were horse thieves. So I would just be stealing a horse and then getting caught and getting transported to the colonies. But game over. But Kumail has like, when he was not fat, but when he was like, you know, nerd body,
Yeah.
he's got these like very sharp features that kind of work, even though he's got kind of a 1.5 chins.
Yeah, right.
But now he's just like, he's, you know, just like an arrow. He's like, he looks like a Dick Tracy character,
Yeah,
you know?
right.
Not one of the villains. He looks like Dick Tracy.
Yeah.
And no matter what I do, I'll just be like, you know, more just round with definition.
I think you're being way too hard on yourself. I do.
You know,
I really do.
Even if I get rid of the chin, the blazing whiteness and lack of contrast in my face
my gosh.
will still, I'll just look like
blazing whiteness.
I'll just look like a white balloon, you know, on top of a pile of whipped cream.
Come on. Wow.
So I don't know. Maybe we can make that. We need something to put on the Instagram. Maybe we'll just enough pump.
What?
Okay,
Oh,
yeah,
okay.
so I gotta write something down.
All right.
Right
Just
now.
enough pump.
Yeah.
You heard it here first.
But until then, it's not just enough pump. It's just enough trope. A podcast, and I'm your host Caliban, joined as always by my co-host.
Hi, I'm Mikan Hana.
And we are, you know, we're in a new world. Or maybe not yet, but we're
a whole new
the world. The credits are rolling
Yeah.
on the old world, and we're going into the new world, and we're trying to get ready to present that stuff to you. And like I said before, we went through as we usually do around this time of a year, and we're looking at all the upcoming releases and all the things that are scheduled and planned to come out.
Mm-hmm.
We'll see if it happens or not.
Yeah, right.
Putting together a tentative schedule, but we're still in that area where we get to kind of play around a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
And that's kind of what we're doing today.
Yeah.
We're here to talk about a comic book that has a connection to something that's coming out very soon.
Yes.
But not a lot. It's really more just background.
Yeah.
Just background
Yeah.
for the WandaVision show that's coming out Friday of next week.
Mm-hmm.
And we'll be reviewing that probably the week just after that. So in 2 weeks or so. But until then, we wanted to get a little background on what, the storylines and characters that won't necessarily be followed in that show, but kind of make up the foundation of that show.
Right.
And that's going to be the idea of the Vision, the Avenger hero.
Yes.
And his relationships, of course, his relationship to Wanda is very important in early comics and also in the MCU. Mm-hmm. And that's what the show will be exploring. But we'll be exploring a different kind of relationship, a different version of domestic bliss.
Yeah.
Domestic
Do you
bliss.
want to call it that?
V1.1.
Right.
And we'll see in the Marvel Tommy King. I like to call him Tommy. Only other fellow operators can call him Tommy boy. But Tom King's Vision from Marvel Comics.
Yeah. Yes. Is it just Vision or is it the Visions?
The Visions.
But yeah. Very interesting take, and we'll get into that later, but similar to probably at least partially the inspiration for the TV show that's coming up.
You know, it's got to be. I mean, this came out in 2016, and the idea is, Tom King, I don't think that I'm sure he, talks to people in the MCU, but I don't think anybody gave him any marching orders. It was just, and this is the only thing that he's really done for Marvel. Like, he's
really
mainly a DC guy, right?
Okay, I didn't
Batman,
know that.
Mr. Miracle, Sheriff of Babylon was DC.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, he's just like, oh, let me pick a character that I want to look into. Here's an idea I've got. And, it's putting the Vision in a place that you wouldn't expect to see him. The most artificial Avenger, the most, like, quote unquote, not human Avenger.
Yeah.
And what if he has the sort of paradise of domesticity, white picket fence existence that, of course, goes wrong.
Yeah, exactly.
And we'll talk about how that happens. But yeah, when they're imagining, like, well, where do we go forward with a character like the Vision? What's going on in the comics?
Yeah, right.
Oh, check this out.
Right, exactly. I mean, I think that's what it's got to be. I mean, and we'll talk about differences and that sort of thing.
Yeah.
But this had been on my list of things that I wanted to read for a while, so I'm really excited that we got to actually read it for the show.
All right.
So, yeah.
Well, we'll do that in a little bit. And, well, of course, we'll talk about some news. What's going on with you?
What is going on?
What does 2021 hold for you?
I don't know. Looking at the tea leaves, it's uncertain. But I'll tell you one thing that I've enjoyed recently that we probably won't really get into on the show, but is the Netflix series Bridgerton. It's based on a series of books by Julia Quinn, and it's Regency drama, but with a twist, with a couple of twists. It's a Shondaland series. I'm not necessarily a huge fan of hers, but I think that I really enjoyed this. So it's very diverse casting. There are. And when I say that, I mean specifically there are a lot of black actors. Yes. And another thing that this does, because it's based on these books, it's not quite Regency like appropriate, like it's there's way more sexy sex scenes than you would expect in like say a Jane Austen adaptation. So
adaptation. Adaptation is not a word. Adaptation is what you do when you can't have kids of your own. And
you just said it's not a word. It's not a word.
No, I'm making fun of you.
I know you are. Okay, I'm sorry.
People use it, and Clippy won't ding you for it necessarily, but that's only because it's a failure of orthography that we have just accepted in our society, and I'm fighting back.
All right, excuse me. Adaptation.
Yes.
I really like it, and also a lot of the female characters are maybe a little bit more feisty than they would have been allowed to be in actual Regency times.
Yeah, let's see here. Let's think of Victorian or Regency era characters who definitely got it on, but it's just you can't talk about it. Becky Sharp was getting it on.
For sure.
Any character that was like ruined or something like that, quote unquote.
Right.
Yeah, but I think that Elizabeth Bennet's probably, that's all fine.
Yeah, I think so.
Part of the problem is, and I'm not like, arguing for just a weapons-free sexual environment for that era, but part of the problem is that you could fall for a Darcy if you're just real horny. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's like, is this guy... let's look at our relationship so far. How's it been? Has it been good or bad? How's it really worked out? Kind of seems like you could write an entire novel about how it's not working out.
Yeah.
Or the ones where it's like, oh, you're my cousin, but let's make it happen.
Right.
My name's Emma,
I know.
And it's maybe they're just really horny. And if she, was getting some, then maybe she'd go, this guy said like one nice thing to me. And then also he helped pay for my sister's elopement or something like that.
Right.
She was ruined by his friend.
Yeah, I know.
Maybe we just go, all right, you know what? We're even. And I'll just walk off.
Right. But that's not how things were back then. And
because
you had to get married.
Right, because she and her 4 sisters and the mom would have been out on their ass when daddy dies.
Yeah, and I mean, it is a lot like, you're of age, you're going to be out and you're looking for a husband. That's a lot of what's happening.
Are there any macaronis in the show?
What do you mean by macaronis?
Yankee Doodle went to town riding on a pony, stuck a feather in his hat, called it macaroni. Macaroni is a term that was given to young gentlemen from post from the Restoration up until about the Regency, maybe mid-Victorian era of like fancy dandy lads, right? And the reason they called it macaroni is that they would go on the Grand Tour, which is, a show on Amazon, but it's also about cars, but it's also like nothing really formal, but like young men would tour the continent You know, they would try to become more continental, and they would go to, like Italy, and they would eat macaroni, which was a new thing at the time. It was like everybody was like, "Oh, have you tried this macaroni?
What is this macaroni?
Oh, this is so crazy!" And so they would come back with all the continental fashions and the huge hair and feathers. People would be like, "Oh, that's a real macaroni over there."
Not yet. I mean, I guess there is a character at the very end of the series. I won't say which one because I don't want to completely spoil it. Who does decide that they want to travel, and it's a guy, and he's like got this grand tour planned, but he has not come back yet with the feathers and the macaroni, so I don't know.
Well,
if
maybe
he's
he
macaroni.
will, but even at that time, that's already kind of falling out of favor because I don't know exactly what year your show is set in, but France is about to be on fire and not a cool place to go to for very rich people.
Yeah,
so.
Right. I know. I do want to mention one other really fun thing about the show. It's kind of like a Gossip Girl, but like the books came out like before Gossip Girl, so it predates that, even though the show is out just now. But there's this character named Lady Whistledown who she writes these scathing it's not like a newspaper, it's like these pamphlets, that she sells, so she gets money for it. I think the first one was free to give you a little taste.
Yeah.
And it's all the juicy gossip that's going on around town, and nobody knows who Lady Whistledown really is, and everybody's trying to figure it. Well, some of the characters are trying to figure it out, and the voiceover is done by Julie Andrews, which is fantastic, and I freaking love it. So
it sounds like a Charles Dickens character.
Yeah. So, anyways, really enjoyed that. Hoping that there is another season. There are quite a few books, so there's a lot of material.
Well, while we're doing this, I'll just say that I have been watching stuff too. I've been trying to watch. It's impossible, but I've been trying to watch a movie a day.
That is
my
impossible.
Work never lets me do that, but so it's usually every other day or maybe 2 or 3 a week. And so I've just been trying to clean out whatever streaming services I'm hooked to and seeing what they got. And so HBO Max has a lot of like great. We have a show called Videos where we're sort of looking at those classic films that you might have forgotten, you might not have got a chance to see, know about it. And HBO is great for that because they've got a ton of, like they're between Turner Classic and then just some of the other classic films they've got. They've got a ton of like real classic films, Film School 101 type stuff.
Yeah.
And I watched a film called Soylent Green.
I know Soylent Green.
Which I'd never seen before.
How have you never seen that?
There's a couple. If I'd been 10 years older, I would have seen all the Heston films. But there's a bunch of Heston films that I'm haven't seen. I've been neglectful.
You mean like Charlton Heston? Is that what you mean?
I'm trying to think like of another Heston. I can't.
Okay.
There's Patricia Heaton. The conservative right-wing weirdo that was on Everybody Loves Raymond. But but anyway, so and I was thinking like, okay, I get it. It's like it was based on a novella, I think, called Make Room, Make Room. And there's also a J.G. Ballard story that's very similar to that idea of overpopulation. And I was thinking like, all right, it's like, how are they going to turn this Twilight Zone thing into like a 90-minute movie? It's great.
Right.
It's really good.
Yeah.
It's like...
It's fantastic.
And
I think I saw it in high school.
Hardcore. Like some of the things that they're dealing with, because they've got like environmental disaster in there, and they've got like this sort of political conspiracy that's going on. And Charlton Heston was... he's like a non-hippie Elliot Gould. Like, you love Elliot Gould movies or Donald Sutherland movies where he's just wandering around through this horrible situation.
Yeah.
That was Charlton Heston, just with a gun, And so he plays this police detective who, there's 40 million people living in New York, right? And half of them sleep on just whatever stairs are there because that nobody can live anywhere. And 20 million people are out of work. And so he's a murder cop, but like they get 200 murders a day. And they know they're never going to close any of them. But, as the movie starts, this rich guy gets murdered. And he's like, I'll take care of it. And then so he goes to this rich guy's like, high-rise apartment because the rich don't suffer this whole living with other people thing. And he's asking questions and he's investigating, but he's just like stripping the place bare. Like he goes into the guy's bathroom and he's like, "So tell me, did he have any enemies?" And turns the water on. And he's like, "Bar of soap. Put that in his pocket." And he's like, "Yeah, right. Well, I'll come back if I've got any questions for you." And he's looking in the refrigerator and he's like, "Oh, some of this," and he leaves with like a sack of stuff that he takes home to this old guy that he lives with. So yeah, it's great. The only problem I have is that I don't know what was going on in the 70s, but everything just looks like a TV show. Do you know what I mean? Like it's not well lit. It's not, it looks cheap, but it's not cheap because there are like, a cast of thousands, and like for these scenes, where everything's crowded, they've got hundreds and hundreds of people.
Yeah, right. No CGI
there's this
there.
One scene at the Soylent Market where they're giving out, it's like the bread line, they're giving everybody their Soylent for the day, and people freak out because like the good Soylent's not there, and they have to bring the scoops out, and the scoops are just snowplow trucks, like 2.5 ton trucks with big scoops on the front, big shovels, and they just start shoveling people like into the back of the dump truck, and people are like freaking out, and everybody's running around, and all the Soylent's getting broken, and it's just like, it's pretty great.
Yeah, it's
and Brock Peters is in it. Brock Peters plays
I don't know who that is.
His captain. You know Brock Peters from Star Trek, probably DS9. He was Ben Sisko's dad.
Oh, okay, sure, yeah.
But who
has the restaurant in New Orleans? Yeah. Gotcha. I'm reminded. I know it's not a film that you particularly like, but Drop Dead Gorgeous. One of the contestants in that.
Bring it home.
She's a thespian, and she does like monologues. Or she does like a presentation from like Soylent Green, and like. She's in she there's like this music, and she does this hand wipe thing. She's like smiling, and she does like this hand wipe thing over her face, and then all of a sudden there's like this crash of music, and it's like, ooh, it's serious, and then she's like doing these parts from the film. Anyways, it's ridiculous.
Well, I can say for sure that most of the people who quote the famous line from Soylent Green haven't seen Soylent Green.
Probably not.
Because they clearly don't understand the context of how that line is being delivered at the end of the film. And that's my only complaint about the film, is that it is ultimately just, a Richard Matheson Twilight Zone type story. There's no third act. It's more of
what does he do with that information?
I mean, how are they going to change the situation and save this world? They're not. It's a cautionary tale, but it does just kind of end, and you go, oh yeah, I guess I knew. Even though I knew going in what Soylent Green was, I forgot all about it as this movie unfolds over 2 hours, and then it gets to the end, and you're like, oh yeah, okay. Charlton Heston's in a lot of movies like that, isn't he?
Is he?
Well, he's you maniacs, you blew it up. God damn you to hell. Right, and then at the end of 10 Commandments, we find out that the tablets are made of marzipan.
Oh my god! What?
I know I'm a Jew, but boy, come on. Jews like marzipan, right?
Sure.
I always see it on the end, the Jewish food end cap for holidays.
Yeah, probably. I'm a Jew, and I don't really like marzipan, but that's okay.
All right. Well, thanks for backing me up.
I'm sure other Jews like marzipan.
You maniac! Let's talk about the news. Well, Wonder Woman is still alive, kind of. It's still going. It made about $7 million this weekend, its second weekend, which is a 57% and 60% drop, which isn't too bad considering the pandemic business. And so ultimately, assuming that, we live in a better future in a year or two and there are movie theaters, greenlighting number 3 was probably the best.
Yeah.
The right decision.
Yeah, probably.
So maybe Warner Brothers can make good decisions, it looks like.
Maybe she can lasso a cloud and fly it out of here.
Maybe so.
What? I don't know.
She uses a cloud as she wears a mask. It's a cloud.
I don't want to spend too much more time talking about it, but I will say that the more I've thought about that film, the more angry I've gotten. I did not enjoy it.
Yeah. And I think that we all needed. I think we all needed a vent, because even like the Mary Sue is going hard on Wonder Woman.
I know.
And I wanted to do, I didn't talk about this on the show, I don't think, but like I've seen a lot of hit pieces on Wonder Woman. You have to use every part of the buffalo. You don't just review a movie. It's going to stick around in the cultural consciousness, and then you get like, so wait a minute, how come Steve Trevor, or like Wonder Woman and Cheetah, here's a look at their relationship. So you see a lot of these things, and I've seen a lot of things that are just nakedly hostile to the film in the headline, letting you know, Wonder Woman haters, give me the clicks, read this.
Right.
And I thought, I'm going to start keeping track of how many of these authors of these articles trashing Wonder Woman are male authors.
Mm-hmm.
And the answer was, not all of them. Some of them are female writers.
Mm-hmm.
Probably, I'd say it's about 60-40.
Okay.
But over more than 51% of the articles are on sites like the Mary Sue and Jezebel.
Yeah, right.
I think a lot of nerd sites that either don't have a feminist focus or probably don't have any female writers have just moved on. They were like, that sucked, and just moved on. And the people still making hay out of Wonder Woman 2 are feminist sites.
Right.
But they're doing hit pieces, and aren't most of the staff of those things like women?
Oh, well, I thought
men write for them.
I thought so.
But like, we need a hit piece. Ah, yeah, over here. Guy with a dick.
I know, I know. Why are we
write something
assigning
horrible
this to
about Wonder Woman?
guys?
I know. I can see it in your eyes. I know you want to do it.
Yeah, I know.
And here they are.
I know.
So we're in a fantasy land, baby.
I think I part of my problem with the film is I love Wonder Woman so much. I love that character. I love that property. And I think it has so much potential. And I think it makes the disappointment of the film that much worse. That's all I'm going to say.
I got a life.
Yeah.
I'm just going to keep loving it. I don't really care.
All right.
I did want to say, because of this situation, though, Warner Brothers is apparently, I thought everybody, even Disney's like, oh, we only made $6 billion this year.
Right.
But Warner Brothers is pushing forward. And instead of taking what's working and just focusing on that, they're continuing. In fact, they're even adding wings now. To the house. So they've got the TV side, which is never derailing. It's never derailing.
Right.
Flash is in like season 7 or 8.
Yeah, right.
Lois and Clark is well, they're not going to call it that, but is going to start pretty soon. So they're doubling down on that. Now they've also got Wonder Woman 3. They're still working on their Black Adam and the Flash movie is going to come out someday. They've got the Zack Snyder stuff, which executives have said they consider to be a dead end. Now, I don't know.
What does that mean?
They mean it's like a cul-de-sac. Cul-de-sac is a nice word. It's a French word for a dead end.
Okay.
And so Zack Snyder, we don't know what he knows. We know that he's hard at work on completing, his Snyder Cut and delivering that, and all of his other movies that I'm sure he gets a piece of on HBO Max. But somebody talked to, Warner Brothers president of programming or whatever, and he basically said like, yeah, that's not gonna turn into anything else. It's not like we're gonna do Snyder Cut 2 or those versions of the characters terminate there.
I see. It's not considered canon, I guess, is what you're saying.
Yeah, right. It's not going to turn into anything.
Right.
Which,
there's not going to be an elsewhere story or something like that.
No, it is an elsewhere world story at this point.
But it's not going to, what I'm trying to say is it's not going to produce other elsewhere
No, if Zack
spin-offs.
Snyder thought that like delivering his perfect 4-hour version of Justice League was going to like go, ring, ring, Zack, buddy, we need you back for Flash 5 or whatever.
Right.
It's been made clear that that's not going to happen.
Right.
Now, this could triple the subscribers to HBO Max, and that could all change tomorrow because this is Hollywood. But so Zack Snyder didn't have much of a comment on that. Ray Fisher will comment on anything.
Oh, God.
And he was basically like, yeah, we'll see about that.
What do you get to decide what your next project is?
Well, it's literally his only movie and his only chance.
I know,
because he's basically burned a whole bunch of bridges. But so anyway, that's going on. So you've got that. But as Warner Brothers president says that they are running 2 separate universes because since Affleck has signed back on and Michael Keaton is going to play Michael Keaton Batman, and they're going to Spider-Man 3, Marvel Spider-Man 3, home is where the heart is, the DC Batman universe, that means that Robert Pattinson, an old-timey barbershop quartet guy, Matt Reeves, their Batman is going to be a separate universe onto its own.
Yeah.
It's even more confusing than it's ever been.
I know.
How is this going to help?
I have no idea.
And I bet
DC is perfectly comfortable with being confusing.
They would do a Joker or two at the drop of a hat, although I don't think that Joaquin Phoenix would do another Joker.
I don't know.
So it's just completely, totally confusing.
Mm-hmm.
And Ray Fisher, somewhat in response to what I just described, but also just, because of the conclusion of the an investigation which has provided remedial action, whatever that means,
right,
and nothing else, he has gone on Twitter to basically trash the president of DC Films, Walter Hamada, and said that he is the most dangerous kind of enabler. He's a liar, and basically he said that he will never work with him again. So Ray Fisher has no future in DC Films at this point.
That was his decision, really. I don't know what he thinks that he's doing, because he's pulling in
He's standing up for himself.
But he's pulling in all of these names. He's saying this person did this person did that. You're an enabler. I don't know. I mean, I wasn't there. I didn't experience it, but it seems like you're creating more of a problem than it actually was, or you're just. I don't really know what he's trying to accomplish at this point, besides saying that DC is toxic.
Well, I think that'd be hard to disprove that DC is toxic.
I mean,
but I mean,
what was
the guy that I would peg as being the source of the toxicity, Zack Snyder, is like his best friend.
I know.
So
they're pals.
I guess I'm not sure what he's talking about, but if this past year or past couple years has proved anything, a lot of bad things can go on. And be open secrets.
Yes.
And it takes somebody to stand up to expose them. And so, I mean, I figured that's how we should look at this.
Okay.
But at the same time, he's not. I don't know. I mean, somebody who's aggrieved and asking them to be circumspect seems like an insult and a waste of time.
Yeah, right.
He's certainly not being very circumspect.
No, he's. I don't he's not going about it in a methodical way, and I don't know. Maybe he feels like he wouldn't be heard if he did that. So I don't know. But I don't know. We were watching some video recently, and it was like talking about like a lot of the actors who are portraying, the characters in Justice League, and like all the issues that all of them have had. And it's like, pretty much, what's his name? Who's Aquaman is like the only one that nobody has any issues with.
Well, former IDF soldier and, human weather vane Gal Gadot had at first said like, oh boy, I had my own experience, which wasn't good. And then recently on a podcast, after somebody asked her about the Ray Fisher thing, and she's like, oh yeah, I'd be interested to see how that turns out.
So which is it?
Like, wow, a lot of staunch defender of Ray Fisher's efforts.
Yeah,
not so much. But I mean, she's not going to screw up her promotion. She's got another movie coming out.
I know.
So it's not show friends; it's show business.
Yeah, I know. Yeesh.
We'll see what happens, and we'll talk about it if something does happen. Let's talk about the Mugen Train.
The what?
It keeps on chugging. This is the Mary Sue's headline.
Oh.
I don't approve of it.
Oh.
Demon Slayer Mugen has become the, or is it called Mugen Train? That's what it is. Demon Slayer Mugen Train. I don't know anything about Demon Slayer.
I don't either.
Is now the highest grossing film of all time in Japan. Suck it. Your name here. Or whatever.
Yeah, I think it's just called Your Name.
It's made 4.6 billion yen.
Wow.
Well, that's in its opening weekend.
But that's a lot of money.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Sounds good. I know nothing about it.
Literally have an anime podcast. So maybe you should have an opinion on this. We'll come back to you later.
But I don't have any context for it because I haven't seen it. So great.
You should see
awesome.
it.
Yeah.
As an anime person, you probably should have just said, "Hey, let's go see that."
Let's go see that.
All right, but not on air though. So here are the facts. It's made 32 billion yen.
Oh, okay.
Which is 300 and
you just take the decimal
$320 million
and you
before
move it
conversion.
Over twice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
It beat the previous holder, Spirited Away.
Okay.
So yeah, it's about 320
That's a lot.
million.
Spirited
US
Away
dollars.
was a very successful film in a lot of ways. It won an Academy Award. It's an excellent film. So I wonder if this, if it just came at like the right time, if it's like the anime is really popular, obviously, and I'm guessing theaters are open in Japan. Like, how are people watching this?
Yeah, some.
Okay. So, I mean, that's a lot, especially to break records right now, considering circumstances. That's saying something, I feel like. So.
I agree.
Mm-hmm.
I just wish I knew what it was about. A train. What does Mugen mean?
I don't. I think it's somebody's name, isn't it?
It means dream or fantasy or infinite.
Okay.
That was easy.
All right.
See, nobody can see what we're doing with our hands. So you can just, pretend like you knew.
Okay.
I should have pretended like I knew. Let's talk about the Rubik's Cube movie. I feel like this...
What?
Every 10 years or so, this story comes out now. But, like, supposedly it's official. Hyde Park Entertainment, which is called Hyde Park, but it's I think it's like Indian money.
Okay.
Let's clarify.
Right.
I think that it is an India national corporation.
Okay,
or at least,
I figured that's what you meant
for this kind of stuff. Yeah, that's what I meant. And they are going to make a movie based on the Rubik's Cube.
Why?
Because the Rubik's Cube has sold over 450 million cubes worldwide. That's why.
I mean, I think everybody knows what it is, but is that enough to make a movie about it? Like, are we doing like competitions?
How many Crudes movies are there?
Yeah.
All right. So anyway,
are doing like a competition, like how fast you can solve it?
So what? See, here's the thing. It really could go any way, couldn't it?
Yeah.
When you say Rubik's Cube, like when we heard like the Facebook movie, we're like, what is it like? The F icon goes and clicks on its likes and pokes somebody. And then it's like, no, David Fincher and Aaron Sorkin are going to create like a legal drama about the birth of Facebook.
Oh, it's going to,
that's barely a Facebook movie.
No.
So it really could be about the guy whose name is, I've had it before, but it's gone now. It was created by a Hungarian sculptor though. I know that. Yeah, it could be about like his dream, of like, and he's doing it like behind the iron curtain, the wall of the iron curtain, sort of an unbearable likeness of being, having all the colors on the same sides.
Sure,
or something like that.
Right.
Or it could just be like the Rubik's Cube cartoon show from the 80s where it's like, oh, it's a Rubik's Cube, and you solve it, and it's like, oh, I'm solved. Now I've got magic powers. Look it up.
Oh my God.
If you were going to pitch a Rubik's Cube movie, what would it be like?
I don't know. It'd be a bunch of kids getting a Rubik's Cube and like trying to figure out the best way to solve it and like having different approaches to it. One kid wanting to take it apart, another kid being like, that's cheating. You can't do that. Another kid doing like mathematical problems and just like figuring it out and sitting and thinking and staring at the cube and like moving it one way and moving it another way.
And they've all got different lives and different problems. Right. This is a Stand By Me for the Rubik's Cube.
Right. And it's a diverse cast.
You want to see a Rubik's Cube?
Right.
Instead of a dead body.
Yeah, right.
And then at the end, it's like, Johnny was killed trying to stop an armed robbery. What? Yeah. Okay, that's good. Yeah. I like that.
And then one guy becomes like a successful business person and he's got a Rubik's Cube solved in his office under a thing of glass. And it's a reminder.
I'll never forget those days.
Yeah, right. Exactly.
The sticker peels off and it's like, it turns out he cheated.
Yeah, right.
I would embrace the international sort of nature of the production, and I would have it be every side of the cube is a different, I would go sliding doors with it. So it's like a Babel type, multi-national sort of web of a story.
Sure.
But there's also, alternate universe kind of aspects to it.
Okay.
So maybe people are coming and going and they're seeing themselves and they're meeting other people that are, I don't know. We'll work it out. But,
okay.
And
yeah.
it all revolves around, the Rubik's Cube is a metaphor.
Right. Okay. I can see that.
You call it life cubed.
All right.
We'll work on it. Maybe not. Not this. Not this. Yeah, and then the poster is like life with the little superset 3. It's life.
Okay,
life
sure.
Cubed, like Alien cubed.
Got it. That works.
Hey, do you want to know everything about the Eternals movie?
You got more news for me besides Camille is still jacked? Yeah.
So, well, no, Camille's still jacked, but I can tell you all about his character.
Okay.
Red Wolf is a clothing company in India, and they are creating much of the film's tie-in merchandise because that's how the economy works in the world.
That's weird, but
and
all right.
they basically, we've wondered for years, like, who is playing what and how they're all going to work together.
Yeah.
And Red Wolf blew the whole thing open with their character descriptions attached to their Eternals merchandise.
Oh no!
So,
I bet Disney's not happy about that.
I can tell you whatever you want here.
All right, tell me some stuff.
Who's Camille playing?
I don't remember. God, this is the bad. There's so much. There's too many characters in
there
Eternals.
Are a lot of characters. That is not true.
Yeah, and it's not like
he's playing Kingo.
Yeah, what?
Which great. It's a great name.
Yeah, right.
He's an Eternal with the power to project cosmic energy projectiles with his hands.
Okay,
That's
could be
one of the
anything.
Second run.
Yeah,
Eternals.
right. Exactly.
And over the centuries, he's become enamored with the idea of fame. In present day, he's a famous Bollywood star who must leave his life of wealth to help repel the deviant threat.
Oh, okay. You can't continue your life of leisure.
I think you just take what they give you.
Yeah.
When you're a comedian who had an Oscar-nominated screenplay, they didn't win, did they?
I don't think nominated. So. Yeah.
I think didn't Ray Romano? No, I don't know. Anyway, and then Disney comes calling. You take what you can get, and they go, "You got brown skin. You're a Bollywood guy." Well, I'm Pakistani, but
yeah, right.
Okay, I guess.
Right. Exactly.
At some point, the divisions, the cuts, the Donald Duck cutting the bean up is going to be fine enough that maybe we can actually get like Indian people playing Indian people.
Yeah, I know, right?
But yeah,
that's the dream.
I guess he's just taking that. I don't know. I'm not very familiar. Maybe a lot of Pakistani people
are in Bollywood. But with the divisions and the tensions between Pakistan and India, it seems unlikely. Maybe that wouldn't happen so much. No.
Who knows?
Yeah.
But anyway, there you go.
Oh, all right. Interesting. Like, what are they selling? Are they selling clothes?
No, hoodies and sweatshirts.
Interesting.
Things like that.
And they have character descriptions for some reason.
Yeah, very detailed ones.
It's crazy.
Yeah,
Why would
I'm not going to read
Disney
anymore.
Why would Disney give it to
it'd be
them?
spoilery. Here's something you shouldn't read. You shouldn't read tweets from Lucasfilm executives.
Uh-oh, why?
Because here's why. It reveals that we're all just living on top of a volcano and the crust is this thin, this crusted over lava, and it could explode at any time.
Uh-oh.
A YouTuber,
a
popular Star Wars YouTuber, whose name is Twos.
Okay.
I only know that from the press report because I don't know anything about YouTube.
Okay.
Rose and Rosie are about the only YouTube phenomenon that I'm familiar with. He was watching, he was live streaming. I don't know how you get away with this. Maybe it was just an edited video, but he was watching the finale of the second season of The Mandalorian.
Sure.
Quick spoilers for that. Luke Skywalker appears at the end of that. And so he's watching it, and we get to the part where the X-Wing flies into the ship, and he's like, no way, bro, no. And then the guy comes out and green lightsaber, and he's like, no, oh my god, and then Luke Skywalker shows up, and he's like, why does his face look like that? No, he was like, oh, this is amazing. And so he was like, and he was crying a little bit.
Yeah.
because
people get emotional.
I don't know. I cried at Marvel Endgame or whatever, but and he's basically like, "Thank you, Lucasfilm. You know, this is great. This is you brought my faith back in Star Wars or whatever."
Sure.
Well, a Lucasfilm executive saw that and basically tweeted. He said like, "Oh boy, whereas emotions are not for sharing," is what he said.
What?
Which doesn't even.
What does that even mean?
I don't even know what that means.
I don't know what that means. Emotions are not for sharing?
Basically making fun of him. Now, the guy deleted the tweet, but also put, like, his tweet as his header, like a screenshot of it. And so, anyway, about a day later, the guy had to come back and say, I wish to clarify that my post that emotions are not to be shared was sarcastic self-mockery. That always comes across on the internet, and was certainly not intended to be hurtful to anyone, and I'm deeply sorry that it was.
Wow. I just don't even know how to react to that, because I mean, emotions people get very emotional about entertainment, and I think that we want to share that. We want to have connections with other people, and how do we express our connections to other people if not through emotions? And I'm not really sure what the Lucasfilm executive's point of that was. Was he like trying to like deflect that this YouTuber was like, "You've restored my faith in Star Wars"? Like, was he trying to?
I have no idea.
I don't get it.
This, of course, cracked the lava, the frozen lava of the turbulent, still ongoing resentment over The Last Jedi, of which, to be fair, Tooz, the YouTuber, was a vociferous critic of The Last Jedi when it came out, specifically in terms of, all right, well, okay, but you know that the charged conflict, right? If Hitler and Mussolini are arguing over if this sandwich is any good or not, you don't really look at the sandwich. You go, a little dry, I could use a little. It's not really about the sandwich. It's about the fact that this is a toxic argument between two people who you can't take either of their sides.
All right, I see
right?
what you're saying. Yeah.
Yeah, write that down. That's a good one. But anyway, Tooz was very vociferous in the anti-Last Jedi camp, and specifically over the fact that the changes that they made to Luke Skywalker's character, which are still canon. Tooz, still there.
Yeah, right.
You know, and this is just a younger Luke Skywalker.
Right.
But anyway, so that caused another, skirmish in the war over Last Jedi, which just get over it.
Just let it go.
So is that Dave Filoni's next job?
What?
We go forward 10 years, and then he's got to redeem the sequels? Because Disney has... Think about all the announcements that they made. None of these shows, except for technically Rangers of the New Republic, is set in the sequel era. They themselves have basically just started to pretend that the sequels didn't exist. Now, I'm sure in 10 years, Dave Filoni or the next Dave Filoni will create a series that does its best to sort of redeem all the stuff that happened in the sequels. But that's what Dave Filoni's done with the prequels. He's basically made like the prequels cool again. Yeah. With all the inclusions in The Mandalorian. So here's the thing. Yep. I don't care. This is like, I can just watch this from the outside and go, huh, interesting. Like, like being at the zoo or an animal preserve or something like that. I don't care.
Yeah. I like The Mandalorian, and I like the story for the most part. I still don't like the prequels, so,
Or the sequels.
I like the first sequel.
I like Star Wars A New Hope as well.
Yeah, I know.
Let's talk about, as we wrap up here, some dearly departed folks from the world of entertainment. Dawn Wells has died recently of COVID at the age of 82. Yeah. People would probably remember her best playing Marianne on Gilligan's Island, but she had a long career in TV and many appearances in different things.
I loved Gilligan's Island as
like
a kid.
Harlem Globetrotters go to Gilligan's Island. No, I'm just kidding. She's done a ton of other shows and stuff like that. And it's too bad. Yeah. It's really, it's not great. No. She passed away from COVID. So you can't say you don't know anybody who's died from COVID.
Right. I know.
Because
Yeah.
Marianne died from COVID.
I know. Yeah, and I think, I mean, 82 is up there, but I still think that it's pretty young, relatively speaking.
Oh, yeah.
So,
well, I mean, 82 is it's up there. But
yeah.
so somebody keep an eye on Tina Louise because let's just put a mask on her.
Yeah, I know, right?
And because
she's the last surviving member, right, of Gilligan's Island?
Oh, that's a good question.
I think she is.
Yeah, I think she must be.
I think she is. I think I read that in an article about.
Oh, okay. You cheated, but
well,
I'm just thinking about all the cast members.
I didn't cheat. It was in an article about.
I mean, the women are going to live longer anyway, right?
I guess.
Because, like, just imagine. I think Russell Johnson only passed away a couple years ago, right?
Maybe.
The men would all just, have a heart attack from the gravy that they ate in the 50s. Bad diets, but
being hit in the head with a coconut.
But yeah, Tina Louise is still around.
Yeah.
So that's too bad. And speaking of COVID deaths, they're saying now that Tiny Lister died from COVID.
You were telling me that.
We know that he had passed away earlier or in December, but
Yeah.
I didn't know the circumstances. And he had contracted COVID at the beginning of December. Mm-hmm. He was actually, because he's only 60, he was going to be in a movie, and he had to cancel and pull out of the movie because he had COVID and he just, was recovering from that. And then he got over it.
Right.
And like a week later, I think his business manager or his agent or something called him and couldn't get a hold of him, and somebody went over to his house. He's dead.
I know. That's really upsetting.
So I mean, that's a COVID death.
Yeah, I know.
So not great.
No.
Here's something else that's not great. We've lost a hip hop legend. MF Doom passed away.
Yeah.
In October.
But we just found out about it.
Yes.
Yeah.
His partner just announced it at the end of the year.
Yeah.
MF Doom, aka Metalface, aka King Ghidorah, Victor Vaughn, the villain, was a sort of eccentric hip hop dude.
Yeah.
Who based his persona on Dr. Doom. Basically, he wore like this. He didn't wear the hood, but he wore this sort of Dr. Doom kind of metal mask.
Yeah.
And I mean, you can go and look for like pictures of what he looks like in his face, but basically just wore that for the last, the later part of his career, and was. I don't know. He's a guy that I never really got to musically. I'm going to check him out now. But yeah, just had a big fan base and was one of my favorite kinds of rappers, which is like, just a weirdo rapper.
He was a performer.
I like guys who don't, rap about, broads and guns and jewels and drugs. Right. Whatever the opposite of 50 Cent is.
Yeah. Right.
That's the kind of like rapper I like. So I just had never had him on my list, never got around to him, but yeah, unfortunately passed away.
I don't know the circumstances, but I guess he had one of his son passed away like
oh man.
A couple years ago, and I don't know what the circumstances were, but that's pretty rough. So yeah, it's he was young too. It's upsetting.
49, yeah.
Yeah.
Boy, that's some of these things are getting a little more real.
I know.
49.
It's not that far away.
Used to seem, forever away.
Yeah, I know.
Anyway. How are all the members of Wu-Tang still around, right? Except for, obviously...
Don't say anything, because you're gonna curse them.
I was looking up Don Wells the other day. I didn't want to mention anything.
Oh, my God.
Except for, of course, ODB.
Yeah.
Who was too beautiful to live on this planet. He went to a better one.
Yeah.
But that's what happens when you like it raw.
Oh, my God.
Did you ever see... you can look it up on YouTube. There's a video of. So ODB's got this amazing smash charting hit, Baby I Like It Raw.
Yeah.
Which is so popular that somebody got to him and they're like, you have to do a PSA about safe sex and condoms. You have to.
Oh my God, seriously?
Like your song alone is going to triple the birth rate. Like, come on. You can't sing about this. So they've taped one, but he was so high, I'm guessing, and also disingenuous about the whole thing that they never ended up using it. But you can find the footage out there, and he's basically like,
"Oh my God!"
He's basically like, "Yeah, man, yeah." Same sex. It's great. It's great. He couldn't like give it straight face.
That's horrible. That's horrible. Oh my God. I can't believe they tried to make him do that.
That's good stuff.
Wow. Hey.
Big baby Jesus.
Oh my God.
You'll be missed.
My servants began to forge what was to become the most dreaded costume on the face of the earth. The last thing to fit was the mask. Would it conform to my twisted features and comfort?
If you're a robot, android, who is a former villain turned good guy,
Yeah.
your brain waves, your brain patterns are based on a real person,
Yeah.
but that person's walking around.
Yeah.
You've loved, you've lost, you've been a father, and then not because comics.
Yep.
What do you do with your life? How do you become complete? How do you become whole?
Apparently you create your own family.
Apparently you do.
Yeah.
And that's going to work out just fine.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about in Vision, or The Vision. It is just The Vision.
Okay.
Volume, I don't know, something or other, 4 or 5. A 12-issue miniseries by Tom King, or Tommy, as I said before.
Tommy.
His friends
Good
and
old
bros.
Tommy King.
Let him call him Tommy.
Yeah.
And that's what we're talking about on the show today.
Yes.
12-issue miniseries.
So we don't...
I should mention the artist.
Yes.
Gabriel Hernandez Walta.
Uh-huh.
And then there is a flashback issue that is penciled by Michael Walsh.
Yes. I don't know if this is a good place to start with this or not.
Sure, why not?
But I know there is a flashback comic that's kind of in the middle, I think is issue 7. So we get a little bit of that, but there's so much that I feel like if the background information about these characters, and can you fill in a little bit of that?
Well, I can. I got the Marvel Handbook out before we
really?
decided to read this, because I thought, like, I'm going to need to answer some questions. And then I think if you just, for something prescriptive, if you want to read this, you don't have to do that.
No.
This issue, and I think the context of the series, does fill in for you,
for the most part,
enough of Vision's backstory to kind of get, what the stakes are.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I mean, it's a character with a very deep backstory and history within the Avengers.
Yeah.
Is he the Martian Manhunter of the Avengers?
Oh. Yes.
Oh.
Yeah.
So I was reading something about Carl Lumley the other day. He was doing something else that was like, oh, that's a good role for him.
Yeah. Yeah, he kind of is.
What was the question?
Can you fill in some of the backstory? Like, I guess specifically,
okay, so
is there more between the Vision and the Scarlet Witch's relationship that we should know?
Yes.
And then also, I know that Vision's origin in the comics is very different from his origin in MCU.
Yes.
So, and MCU might be more what listeners are more familiar with.
Yeah, it's not just some of the names have changed.
Yeah.
But otherwise, Hank Pym creates the Ultron.
So Hank Pym creates Ultron, not Tony Stark.
Father, he's a little head on wheels. In an effort to create life, he's a robotics expert, but also create, a crime-fighting tool or whatever. And Vision is self-aware but consumed with jealousy over anything that Hank would love instead of him, and becomes eventually a bad guy. He's programmed to self-improve, which is why he keeps coming back. Ultron 2, 3, 4, 5. It's Ultron 5 that I believe that creates the Vision. And this is all, we're still in like the late 60s at this point.
Mm-hmm. Something
that's really crazy about the MCU, except for a few cherry-picking things to get characters in, like the Winter Soldier storyline, Infinity War, they're really only they're just entering the 70s in terms of like the storylines and character relationships that they have shown or adapted into, or adapted. How do you make that even smaller? Apted, Michael Apted into movie storylines for the MCU. Mm-hmm. They have years left of stories to tell. Now, arguably not as good as, say, the Kree Skrull War,
Sure.
Captain Marvel, Avengers Forever, but we haven't scratched the surface. Like, where's Tigra? No, just kidding. Tigra is the Martian Manhunter of the Avengers. And so Ultron, in order to ironically destroy Hank Pym, creates his own version of his own Ultron, basically, which is the Vision.
Right.
Who is just his brainwave patterns are based on that of Simon Williams,
who is Wonder Man,
who is the Wonder Man, who somehow has not yet been in the MCU yet, although I think he'd be great for the MCU.
Tell me more about Wonder Man.
Wonder Man is Simon Williams. He is, like almost all the characters that Stan Lee and Jack Kirby created, a rich billionaire industrialist.
Oh my God.
Although Simon Williams' parents aren't dead, or at least aren't when we meet him, I think. And so he is, the scion of Williams Industries, a technology company. He's got a brother named Eric, and basically, like a lot of Avengers characters, he begins as a villain. He, for some reason, wants revenge on Tony Stark. His brother Eric is the black sheep of the family and is involved with the mob and the Magia, which is the mob in the Marvel Universe. And so basically he looks to get help from his brother and the mob and to get revenge on the Avengers, or on Tony Stark specifically, because Tony Stark stole all the contracts, or something like that.
Okay.
And so he doesn't succeed and he dies. He gets killed.
Okay.
Then he remains dead for a while, but it turns out that he's not actually dead. He's just in a suspended animation state because the powers that he received from the thing that he got hit by, or the revenge he's going to get, changed his body. And eventually it turns out that his body is not real anymore. He's made out of ionic energy. He doesn't have a human body.
Okay.
And so in the meantime, his brainwaves get stolen and used by Ultron to create Vision.
Okay.
Which we kind of get in the MCU with the Mind Stone, and then also just the fact that Jarvis is sort of based on Tony's brainwaves or something like that. We get kind of a piece of that.
Right.
So then Vision, is set to destroy the Avengers and gets close to killing all the Avengers. Eventually they stop him and kind of reprogram him and make him into the Vision, good guy robot, who is in a lot of ways like Ultron's opposite, which they also exploit in the MCU in Age of Ultron.
Yeah.
And then, things go on. At first he's just a kind of I am a robot type guy, but eventually he develops personality. He falls in love with the Scarlet Witch. Yep. And they are married for a long time. And there are two awesome, insane Steve Englehart miniseries featuring their adventures. They have children.
Uh-huh. Yeah,
and
tell me more about that.
Partially because it's a weird thing and partially because it's comics. You go, how do they have children?
Yeah, because he's a robot.
Wanda basically wishes, on a star that she has children, and because she has chaos magic abilities, she just somehow has children.
Yeah.
And Doctor Strange delivers them. And they're two kids, and there's two babies for a while. Yeah, it's great. And then I don't think Bendis... I can't remember if Bendis, it was all his idea, but eventually we learned that the kids aren't real and they were created by Wanda's powers. And when I mean not real, I don't really know what that means, but their souls are two fragments of the soul of Mephisto, who's the devil in the Marvel Universe.
Oh my God.
And he basically calls, to collect them. And that's where we get Pandemonium, who is a demon character with his arms are babies and they're her two dead sons.
My God, that is
pretty weird.
Terrifying.
It's pretty weird. This all, of course, leads to the House of M saga and also Avengers Disassembled, where we find out that Wanda's power is even greater than we thought, and she can affect all of reality. And she's distraught over the loss of her kids, and basically subconsciously causes the downfall of the Avengers. Her powers resurrect all these villains who the Avengers have faced. They all attack at once. Hawkeye dies. The Vision is destroyed. The mansion's blown up, and it seems like the Avengers are just going to be out of it for a while.
Yeah.
And then she's kind of manipulated by Quicksilver into erasing all mutants. But what that means is she creates a whole other reality called the House of M, where mutants are accepted and in fact ruling. Her father Magneto and herself and Quicksilver all are like the royal family of America in this new universe where mutants are okay.
Okay.
That, things happen there. Then she's returned to the world. And then, I don't know, it's hard to track after that. Quicksilver is kind of a bad guy for a while. I think he dies. Then Wanda joins the Uncanny Avengers, which is a Rick Remender deal, where there's another alternate timeline involving Apocalypse. Don't worry about it. Not really important to this.
Okay.
That's got to answer pretty much all of your questions.
Yes. I guess, could we talk a little bit more about, because he's important in a way, because he kind of kickstarts a lot of
Wonder Man?
Well, besides Wonder Man, his brother, Eric, the Undertaker.
No, the Grim Reaper.
Or the Grim Reaper.
By God! Tombstone pile driver! Hey man has a family of robots!
Sorry.
Gotta change the show
I don't know why I thought it was the Undertaker. The Grim Reaper.
He started off as like, he was just a bad guy who had a
mob
scythe.
connection.
Yeah, that he, is a technological marvel, but thanks to Williams Engineering or whatever. Then he, they decided to like make his gimmick, his shtick real, because he dies, but then he's like brought back to life as like a necro being. So now he's got like, he's like one of the Avengers' toughest enemies. He's got like power over life and death, and he can't be killed. He's killed in this story.
Yeah.
And just to kick it off, but he's come back from things like that before.
Okay.
And so the fact that they just kind of forget about that is like, I think them just going, we just need them to kill somebody and have it not matter all that much.
Okay.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like if they just, oh my God, he chopped off Sam Wilson's head and buried him in the backyard. Like that's a big deal, but killing the Grim Reaper's not really all that big of a deal.
Okay.
So he's just he started what are they called? The Lethal Squadron or something of Avengers villains, the Living Laser and Hurricane and just a bunch of guys.
Okay.
Who fought the Avengers.
Yeah, so it's...
And he hates his brother and loves him at the same time. And by proxy, he hates Vision because he's like a fake version of his brother.
Yeah, that's what I didn't understand.
Oh, and Wanda dated both Wonder Man and Vision because they're very similar.
Yeah, I know. And we see that in this. So it's hard to understand because we don't know anything.
You know what's really understand? What happens in this miniseries, because we haven't talked about it yet. What happens?
Well, basically, the Visions, we're told many times, it's the fall, and they're moved to this place in...
616.
Yeah.
We get some new numbers lane.
Yeah. And it's, it's outside of DC because Vision is, he is an Avenger, and he is reporting to the president and, kind of a liaison for the Avengers there. Something that's kind of just thrown away is that apparently the Avengers aren't paying their positions anymore, but apparently the Vision needs money to maintain his house and pay for his family. And so he was like hoping that helping the president would be a paying job, but he doesn't mention it. And that's never mentioned ever again.
There's a couple things in this that are never mentioned again.
Yeah. But anyways, so they're basically your typical suburban family that happen to be robots. Except Vision has created his wife and he has created his children. Now his wife, Wanda, we see in the flashback series, after a lot of crap happens. They were married, she had kids, they weren't real, they were real, they're gone, he erases her memories somehow, that's all awesome, and then she decides she wants to date Wonder Man instead of Vision, but she wants him to be happy, so she creates this thing that's basically contains her brainwaves. And she's like, basically gives him the idea, like, maybe you can create somebody who's like you, or like me, but not me.
Right.
That you can be happy with. So that's basically what he does. But the messed up part of that, we find out later, and he names her Virginia. They all have V names. We find out later that not only does Virginia have Wanda's brainwaves, she has Wanda's memories of her relationship with the Vision.
Right.
That is so messed up to have your husband's ex-wife's memories of being in a relationship with him. That would mess anybody up. So I don't think it's any wonder that she has...
Well, Wanda dated a guy, and then when he died, she's like, oh, you got a robot version of him? Well, let's see.
I know.
What this one can do.
I know. It's all messed up. But it's no wonder that she's kind of mentally unstable, is what I'm saying.
Yeah. Wanda's the original, hot chick, also way psycho.
Seriously. So, I don't know. But it's never mentioned, like, how he apparently needed brainwaves to create his wife, but it's never really mentioned whose brainwaves his kids are from. Are they just, like, his brainwaves?
Yeah, and also...
they're twins.
Spoilers for, the entire series, but later on, he takes a dog's brain and makes a dog.
Yep.
Do you need brainwaves to make a dog?
Apparently
you can't just program a dog?
I don't know.
Somebody tell Sony to get on that.
I know.
Where'd I put the batteries in this Aibo Prime?
I know.
Oh my
god. Yeah. And then, like, because, like, the Vision is trying to, like, he really wants his family to be, quote unquote, normal.
Mm-hmm.
And that's a huge theme in this.
Mm-hmm.
And so to maintain this being normal, he decides that he's going to send the kids, Viv and Vin, to school, which, causes them a lot of stress.
Yeah.
In a lot of ways. But, like, they go to school and they interact with kids, but they don't eat. And they fly to and from school, which is that's not, if you want to be normal, that's not the way to do it.
Yeah.
But there a lot of tension is put on what they wear to school because that's important. Yeah. So very early on, the Grim Reaper, not the Undertaker, shows up and just starts attacking the Visions.
He challenges Virginia to a buried alive match.
Yeah, right.
And yeah.
And it's like, why is he attacking them? Because they're fake and they're not real and they're not his family. But in this mini series, this is the first time we see him and we see this character, and he's literally tearing into their bodies. So we have no real connection to this character or the idea of this character or what this character is. And he's just chops Viv in half, which is very startling, to say the least. And then, like, I don't like Virginia's, like, reaction to this. I don't think she's, like, overreacting, but I don't think that, like, the Vision has necessarily, like, he has honed his skills and his powers over years, and he knows, like, his own strength, and I don't know that his wife and his kids have that.
Yeah.
And she just, like, I mean, honestly, he attacked her kids, so I understand, like, she just, like, lays into him with a baking sheet, and somehow with this baking sheet, she kills him, which she did not mean to do.
Right.
But then she's, like, immediately, like, don't tell your father, which is, like, the wrong reaction to have.
Yeah. I don't like this series.
Oh, okay.
And it's not that I don't like it because it's bad. I don't like it because in 12 issues, you couldn't really land. I get that it's tough, but you couldn't land. Like, Mr. Miracle is a lot better. Mr. Miracle, not a lot happens in Mr. Miracle if you could consider, like, a new apocalyptic war between Apocalypse and New Genesis, mm-hmm. with Scott Free at the lead to be nothing. But a lot of it's like sitting around and changing diapers and eating carrots and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
And yet, it's the kind of thing that, like, you read and you finish it and it's maybe dissatisfying, but you keep thinking about it because there's things there to think about still.
Yeah.
And there's things there that are a little, like, Funky Flash Man, and, like, there's just things in there that are planted in there for fun, but you go later on, you go, oh, yeah, okay. This is like a dry run for that, I think.
Oh.
And I don't think in 12 issues, he doesn't think we examine all the things that we could examine.
Mm-hmm.
And so, there's a point where, well, what is it? It's Desperate Housewives scenario. It's murder in a small town, type thing that never reaches like the sort of robot blue velvet that it really could have.
Mm-hmm.
And she decides to lie and hide this thing and bury the body or whatever. But like later on, Vision is being questioned by a police lieutenant, a detective.
Yeah.
Who has no importance in the story, although we spend a lot of time introducing him, and then he just goes away and never comes back.
Yeah. He comes back at the end, but it's not important.
Right, just to sort of like, well, it was the beauty that killed the beast, or whatever.
Yeah, right.
And we go through this whole like 8-page thing. In fact, the entire issue is about Vision. Sort of, there's a narrator in the story, and we find out who it is later. But don't worry about that for now. It's basically Vision's internal monologue, going over all of his achievements as an Avenger and leading up to and telling himself that he's a good person as a retroactive or a preactive justification for a lie that he tells the police detective that, yes, my wife was with me that night.
Mm-hmm.
He's not an Asimov robot. He can lie to a human, but why would he do that? Why would I do that? And I like the idea of him as a robot calculating, why would I do this? But that's the big lie thing. And then there's a huge lie at the beginning. And so are we not interested in examining her like psychology over lying? Does she not have a sophisticated psychology for lying? It just seems like that is also a big deal. And I know it has to happen just like the Grim Reaper just busts into their house and starts trying to kill them for there to be a story. But it's not examined in the same way. And so she never feels as real of a character to me. And it... I don't know. I think it's after that we get this examination of the idea of P and NP in computing sort of theory, and the idea that like P is a problem that computers work at. It's like computer theory. It's computing theory. Like computers can work on a problem in one of two ways. One is like P, which is it's kind of like we always joke on Sailor Noob about like random.org, true random numbers,
right?
And how like when a computer is asked to search for a random number, it's not really searching for a random number, because if it was going to take that to its extent, it would just be looking for one forever. And so we used like a shortcut that approximates
an algorithm.
Yeah, an algorithm that approximates a random number, but that's not truly random. And so the narrator is saying that Vision thinks about all these things because Vision is just a calculator, basically. He's not like an incredibly sophisticated computer that's based on a human's mind. But anyway, and so he can only deal with this. And if creating a family and solving whatever problem that he's found himself in is just a P problem, then it's fine. But if it's an NP problem, he will go through all the permutations of that problem. And the only solution that he can come up with is killing everybody on Earth to like protect his family.
Then he'll do
and
that.
I don't buy that premise at all.
Yeah.
He's been a character for 60 years and he's had conundrums before. Do you know what I mean? Like, I just don't accept that. You're just trying to map these pre-existing characters and their conflicts and the natures of them onto this, very basic, I killed somebody and now I'm hiding it, Hitchcock light kind of story.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't buy it.
Yeah.
And then they spend time, the kids go to school and it seems like, robot kids going to school is its own series.
Right.
But they get a lot of short shrift because we don't have time for it, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
And then Vin dies and it's almost like an anticlimax. Like, he's so worried about protecting his family and then one of his kids is just totally dead.
Yep.
And I know that leads to like the conflict which you never thought was going to be the conflict, which is he has to kill like his brother.
Yeah.
I don't know. I just feel like it's very comic booky, and I didn't feel like Mr. Miracle was that way.
I see what you're saying. I don't know. Let me throw this past you. It's
going to go through me.
I know.
Because I have phasing powers.
I know. With Virginia, she seems very cold and calculated when she kills Grim Reaper and she buries him. And she's just like, this is what we're going to do. This is how we're going to handle it. And then we find out later that one guy had gone to their house and like catches it on video and like sends it to her and threatens her because he doesn't like the fact that his kid CK is like science partners with Viv.
Right.
Because he doesn't trust them. He calls them machines or whatever, or things. And he's very much, he's made cookies, but he wants you to know that he's packing a gun, you know. And then like CK is upstairs this entire time, but here's this commotion going on. So she goes over to the house because he's threatening her, and she's like not buying it, and she's like gonna fight him, and he is scared, and so he starts shooting at her, and then he accidentally shoots his own kid in the head. And then because she's scared about how this is going to come off, she like beats his head in, and he's now in a coma that she doesn't know if he's ever going to wake up. And then she just doesn't tell anybody about it.
And he never does in the story, so it doesn't really matter.
I know, but
I mean, just
but like,
just add him to the grave in the backyard.
I know, but
why do they have her restrain herself and not kill him? Like, what's?
I think she didn't really want to kill Grim Reaper.
She's Frankenstein or she's not, right?
I know.
Like, we don't get enough into her thought processes, I don't think, in the same way that we do Vision. Like, would you argue that Vision is the main character of the story? I mean, his name is on the book, but I don't feel like, for all this talk about how computers work and like Vision's upstanding history and what would he do to give all that up again, because he is, based on a murderous robot, in a lot of ways. We spend all this time with all the other characters, and I don't feel like their psychology is adequately explored. Like when Virginia dies, it's like, oh, okay, she's dead.
I know.
But I never felt like she was. It's all just twists and turns in the stories. We set the vase up made of corrosive material at the beginning, so she can take it to poison herself, at the end. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's all just little story structure and bits, but psychologically, I don't understand why she would do that, because once she has started the story and then complicated it by killing her daughter's boyfriend, essentially, then she just goes crazy for the rest of
I know.
of the book.
Yeah, she's cold and calculated after her first accidental murder,
and then Viv doesn't really get. Viv gets sad because her boyfriend died, but she's also put on pause because she's the one that's going to survive this story. And I don't know if they've done anything with her after this. Maybe added her to the Young Avengers or something. Probably, I don't know that though. So because she can't do anything bad because she's going to continue on, we don't do anything with her really.
No,
and then. Like, it's okay. It's okay, everybody. It's okay. Tom King is Jewish, so he can bring this Shylock thing in.
Right.
I don't know if it's just what's going on in the household, but he becomes obsessed with the Merchant of Venice for some reason.
Well, they're talking about it in school. Like, his teacher was like reciting that specifically.
But why not like out damn Spot, right?
Yeah.
That's what you want to do.
I think because the whole, people
discriminate against him because he's a robot.
He's not normal. And the whole, if you prick me, do I not bleed sort of thing.
Right. But the one guy that really confronts him and represents the fear and hatred of robots in the school
is CK.
Is like, oh, no, I'm cool with it. It's fine. I was being out of line. So there is no real conflict there.
I know, right?
And maybe a dumb robot kid with half a brain won't understand that. But again, as a reader, I'm just like, why isn't any of this happening? Why aren't they going to family therapy?
I did kind of wonder
Dr.
that.
Strange or something like that.
I did kind of wonder that at the end of the story, why did this story happen? Why did we tell this story? And obviously,
because it's a murder in a small town story that they overlaid this robot drama onto.
The Vision really wants this idyllic, normal life. He wants to be normal. He wants to be human. So what's more human than having a family? But at the same time, all these traumatic things happen, and there's no counseling. There's none of this. And then also his brother Victor is apparently addicted to vibranium.
I don't know what's up with that.
It's like some weird drug addiction for robots. I don't know. It vibrates. I don't know.
I guess so. He never figured out that the lighter was made of vibranium, though.
No, but he figured out that the piano was. The Visions go through a lot of tables too, because there's a lot of smashed tables.
That beat gets repeated a couple times.
Yeah.
I just don't. I ultimately, it just, like I said, feels like to me what if we had this murder in a small town kind of storyline, and then we try to also have the Vision, doing it to be or not to be kind of thing.
Yeah.
Questioning his existence, his family questions their existence. And in 12 issues, it's so much more of that kind of rote, where I'm hiding a murder story than it really is these characters examining themselves mentally. What was up with the Redskins thing?
That was weird. Okay, I had to reread that a couple of times. I think that was the mascot, and then they changed it.
I get that, and I also get that Tom King is doing a little social commentary on people being insensitive, but I wouldn't compare comic book characters who are robots with red skin.
No, I wouldn't either.
What the stick to the Jew thing, right? Like to the discrimination that Native Americans feel because of and that didn't it wasn't like at the end anywhere. The principal was finally like, oh my God, we got to go back to the pig with the hat on or whatever. I'm sorry about that. That there's so many things in this that are just sort of floated and never land,
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, not that everything has to wrap up perfectly. Mr. Miracle, you don't know what's going on half the time.
Mm-hmm.
I don't even really know what Mr. Miracle's about. He does kill himself at the beginning, or try to at the beginning of the series, right?
Yeah, right.
So where are we at as far as that goes?
Yeah, I know.
But that's that rewarding ambiguity where this is just, here's an, this is popular right now. The Atlanta Braves have to change their name. So maybe they're going to stick it to these robots because we're the Redskins. No, we're done with that.
Yeah,
8 issues left. We never come back to that.
I know.
I don't know.
It's in the background sometimes, but it doesn't really come back. So Virginia takes at the end of it, the story, she says that she changed Vision's memory or made him do things and made him act certain ways. So she takes the fall for everything.
I'm not, that's all a lie though. Right?
I know it is, but she makes everybody else believe it, so he still has standing with the Avengers, even though he did what he did.
Well, he's a guy who got hacked by his wife.
Yeah, right. But I'm worried at the end, him and Viv are still living in this house and still have this life together. There's no talk of trauma, of counseling, or anything. She has this conversation with her dad that she's like, no, I'm not normal. So maybe just trying to accept what they actually are. They're robots. But she decides she's going to school. But I'm concerned, what kind of life are these two going to have with each other? Are they going to be able to move on? And then we get this flash at the end. He's clearly trying to bring his wife back.
Yeah.
And the dog was brought back by Tony Stark because I guess it's just a dog. So we're just going to bring it back.
Isn't it wishy-washy to have him really have made no decisions in the thing? Yeah, he fights all the Avengers, but superheroes fight each other all the time. That's just the way they communicate. You know what I mean? Nobody's going to hold that against him. But having her take the entire blame at the end, and not only have all the blame so that nobody really blames Vision, but also in the story, Vision never made any decisions like, oh, I found a body and I'm going to leave it here because I don't want my wife to go to jail or whatever, or whatever they're going to do to a robot. Isn't that a stronger choice? At the end, he created a family that got Victor killed, basically. I mean, he's a robot. Yeah. She pulls his heart out.
Yeah.
And maybe you can put it back in. I don't know. Poor George and Gracie get vaporized.
I know.
And Eric Williams will probably be back, but he gets killed too. And that's all kind of on Vision. Hank Pym has had to deal his entire life with the fact that he created Ultron.
Yeah.
And sometimes assuages his own guilt with the fact that Ultron created Vision, who has helped save the world many times, become a trusted friend and team member and a hero. 37 times, right.
Yeah.
But Vision created a family that got 4 people killed. And do we ever examine how he takes on that guilt for? No, isn't that? I know
that's more interesting.
I know that we've already explored that with Hank, and all that. But he's taking on his grandfather, his great grandfather's
right.
Sort of. he's becoming that's Frankenstein. That is the Frankenstein story. That is, I'm responsible for this thing that I have unleashed on the world, and I had good intentions, but here we are.
Yeah.
And except for the fact that they're all sort of like green in places, that never.
Though the dog's green. I mean, the dog.
I feel like that never comes up.
Yeah, I know. Why do they have hair? Like, the Vision doesn't have hair, but everyone else in his family has hair.
I don't know.
And then, like, why does, like, Victor kill Vin? Like,
it's one of those things
he's
where
like not in control. Is it because he's on drugs? Is he high on vibranium?
I have no
so
idea.
He
I
doesn't
consider
have
it to
control
be.
of his powers?
I've commented to you before, perhaps on this show, about how in every thriller movie, at some point, usually, either at the beginning of the second act or the middle of the second act, somebody confronts the character who's doing bad, and they're like, I'm going to tell everybody, and then I'm going to own you, and you're in trouble. And it's like, no, I'm not. And they push them, and that person falls and hits their head on the coffee table, and they're instantly dead.
Yeah.
Which is why when Beth Harmon hit her head on the coffee table, I'm like, no, where's the show going? No, it's just like she's a sloppy drunk.
Yeah, right. I know.
And that person's dead, and now we have to, and it could be anything. Sometimes it's a gun, it's a marble coffee table.
Yep.
It
happens in Breaking Bad, for goodness sake.
It happens in Breaking. Well, that's more of a complication to the story. I forgive that, and I forgive Ginger Snaps because that is the crisis where.
Yeah.
Anyway, I can explain anything away. But there's like an Edward Furlong movie where he's arguing with his girlfriend and he pushes her and she falls and lands on a jack that they're using to change the tire, and it impales her through the brain and she's dead. Like it has happened to millions of people in the world.
It's a very stupid trope.
And that's what this is. It's just, you've caught me doing this. I need to, no, I can't let you know about this, but I'm not going to murder you, but I can't control my powers for some reason.
Yeah, I know.
And then, and then
you're dead somehow.
You're dead somehow. That's all.
And then, like, okay, so I want to talk about, too, how, like, Viv, when she gets attacked by the Grim Reaper, she gets basically sawed in half, but for some reason, the Vision, with Tony Stark's help, is able to bring her back. Uh-huh. And he's able to bring her back, so that's another kind of, like, Frankenstein moment. But, like, Tony has seen, like, what the Vision is doing. He's aware he's created this family. He even helps him bring a family member back. He's not alarmed at this point. Like, maybe this isn't healthy. Maybe I should be checking up on them. Maybe I should be checking in on with them periodically, seeing how things are going.
I don't know.
I just feel like
Tony Stark. He's got a lot going on.
Freaking red flag, Tony Stark.
Well, he was like, to be fair, he was like, whoa, this is weird. And then life continues.
I know.
Screw all that. We don't like it. You get that. Let's talk about the other elements in the show. Agatha Harkness appears in this.
Yes.
She is a background character for Marvel's Scarlet Witch and the Vision. And she's like, oh, I've seen the future because I ate this flower or whatever. Yep. And she goes to the Avengers and she's like, you guys got to watch out for this. Also, I've never seen a time travel movie, so I don't know if maybe my actions are causing this thing to happen because you guys sent Victor in to blah, blah, blah.
Which is exactly what happened.
Yeah. The only thing that I thought was cool was, was like the flower plant or whatever it has to be eaten twice. So
it's
you
like
feed
the
it to something else,
something that's
hungry, you kill that thing,
and then you eat it,
and it works. And I liked, it was a little weird when she killed her cat or whatever. But Salem, no. But I did like that. The robot dog eats one. Because it's not programmed to not eat things. And then she kills the dog and eats it. And they're all robots. Nobody is digesting anything. It's magic. So because you have done the ritual, even though it's not digested and you're just a robot who's killed a robot, like it still sort of works for her because I thought that was cool.
That was cool.
Although I don't remember what she sees. Does she just see
She
Vision
sees the future.
He
killed everybody.
But he doesn't do that.
We don't see what she sees, but she tells us that's what she sees.
Yeah, whatever. So it was even a cool thing was really for no
I know. Reason. I did think it was interesting that like both kids when they were on the brink of death called for their mother.
Yeah.
Like, did he program that into them? Like he he's the one who technically created them. Like, she wasn't born, they weren't born from her womb. You know, like...
Well, I guess they're not that inhuman after all.
Yeah, well, I don't know. I just thought that was a very human sort of touch. I do want to mention, too, that I'm reminded... I know we try not to talk about Star Trek too much, but I'm reminded of an episode of Star Trek Voyager...
Oh my goodness.
Where the Doctor, who is a hologram, creates a holographic
You're busted,
family.
Tom King. You're busted, and I didn't even need a spy satellite to do it.
Yep.
We gotcha.
And he shows his family to the other members of the crew, and they tell them that they are too perfect.
Hold on, I gotta write down an idea for my show, Backtrekking.
Oh, that's a good idea. Yeah. And
I'm not gonna get Gooey to read 12 issues of a comic.
You could. It's a comic. They're pictures.
I'll wait till they make it into a Marvel movie.
There you go. So he creates flaws and imperfections within his
Real
wife.
Life, it's called, isn't it?
I can't remember what the episode is called. And he has a wife, a teenage son, and a daughter. And the daughter, when he creates the imperfections, what is the name of the very dangerous game that she plays? Parcheesi.
Haunting Man?
No, it's what's it squares?
Oh, Parisi Squares.
Parisi Squares.
I'm sorry. Look, I apologize for all the Star Trek talk.
Yeah, but okay, but she plays Parisi Squares and she gets mortally wounded somehow.
Well, she was playing against Worf.
Yeah, no, she wasn't. and it's like almost too much for him, and he can't deal with it, and he doesn't like want to go into the program. But then he decides that he's going to face it, and his holographic daughter dies. It's very sad, and he's there to support his wife and his son. And I can't remember how it ends. Like, we never see that family again. So I can't remember if he erases that program or if he just decides this is too much.
He decides he doesn't.
I can't come back.
I have the option to not be a human, and I'm going to do that for right now.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, the entire show, his arc is about becoming more human and eventually achieving it, basically. But like at that point, he's like, "Oh, screw this! No, I don't want to do this. Forget it."
Yeah.
It's
stressful.
It's way better than this.
It's so good. And like the teenage son is like into Klingon culture.
Yeah, he's a Klingon weeb.
And he's like, screw you, Dad. And
yeah, you're just a patak, Dad.
Yeah.
Well, thanks for bringing that up. I wasn't even thinking about that.
Yeah.
That pretty much puts the nail in the robot coffin as far as I'm concerned. Look, I like Mr. Miracle. I still have not. So what do we got? MF Doom, Charlton Heston movies, and more Tom King comics, because apparently his Batman run is really good.
Uh-huh.
And even though his wedding to Catwoman's a cop out, but he is good.
He's very good.
But this, I'm not impressed.
I find myself feeling not fully satisfied by this, because I'm sitting here wondering, what is it all for? Why did he tell this particular story? What are we supposed to get out of this? Obviously, it's very sad. Vision, wants to be human.
Sadness comes from empathy, and I don't empathize with these characters because they don't feel real to me,
Well, I thought the issue, I guess particularly the issue with Wanda, the flashbacks, was very sad. And maybe that's where the bulk of my sadness comes from. I don't know. I kind of would like to see what happens with Vision.
And you throw a dumb
Vision
joke in there
Viv.
for no good reason. I do
that dumb joke was good.
That's like one of the 5 jokes that I know. Which is, their version is like there's 2 toasters on a counter, and one toaster's like, are you satisfied by toasting bread? And the other toaster's like, holy crap, a talking toaster.
Yeah, right, exactly.
Yeah, but it's like, okay. Would you recommend this?
I would, because I think, especially if you are going to watch WandaVision and you want to see part of what the inspiration is. Obviously, I think with WandaVision, with Vision being dead, they're changing the story, and this is somehow some sort of world that Wanda has created, and she's somehow brought Vision back. That's what I think.
Yeah, I'm kind of wondering, what else you would watch or read
And
get
Agatha
background.
Harkness is in it, right? She's in WandaVision.
Yeah. I honestly don't think you need, if you're only doing this to like give yourself background for the show, I don't think you need to read this at all.
Oh, okay.
I have an easy time recommending comics because I love them and they're usually a quick and easy read. So for that reason, I guess I would recommend it, but it's not as
essential
good as I've heard people say it is. And I don't think it won. Tom King wins. He sneezes and wins awards. And I don't think this won any awards. And I think that was a good decision.
Really? I thought it won an Eisner. Am I making that up?
Are you thinking about Miracle?
No.
Mr. Miracle?
No, I thought...
There's no way.
I thought it did. I thought I saw that somewhere. Maybe
It did?
Yeah. Yeah.
No, man.
Yep.
No.
Yep.
It's not that great.
Now you're mad.
The neighbors are George and Nora. It's dumb.
Yeah, I know.
Does this guy, does he have compromat on everybody?
Yeah,
He likes to talk about how he's a CIA guy. I wonder what he thinks about Pete Buttigieg. He likes to talk about how he used to work for the CIA and whatever.
Yeah.
And is he got blackmail on everybody?
Come on.
Because an Eisner Award?
Yeah.
This is 2016. I don't know what was coming out in 2000. Surely there was a Lumberjanes or something that you could give.
I'm sure there was.
Give it to.
Yeah, right.
Yeah, check it out. I guess.
The rest is empty with no brain, but the clever nerd, the best MC.
I'm reading. Here's a New Yorker article about it, and yeah, okay. This is the kind of thing that, like, if a New Yorker writer was forced to read some comic books, they'd go, "Oh, okay, this is sophisticated. Oh, it's good." But comics can be way more sophisticated than this, and I challenge you to go out and read some real sophisticated comics. I mean, if you want people covering up murders, Ed Brubaker's got you covered.
Sure. I did like some of the cover art.
Plus, they have set this whole thing up with, I assume that this is, drawing on his own experience, Tom King, but like living, outside the Beltway and working in D.C. And so he's got Vision doing that. But like, we never get into, I know it's about like his family and a murder, but we never get into Vision's job. I want to know how
the president like once.
Yeah, like how is Vision like how does that work exactly? Because like Captain America could just call the president on his video phone all the time. Like, why do they need? What does that entail? Is this a crap posting? Are they trying to get rid of the Vision by giving him this job? And
maybe
it doesn't really matter because we've got to quote long passages of A Merchant in Venice.
Yeah, I know.
The letterer's like, really, dude? Fine, it's a job. So anyway, check that out. We're going to check out the show on Disney Plus, and we'll be back to you depending on, not sure if they've decided or they've told us if they're going to release it all or just go week by week.
I would be surprised if they released it all, just going off of The Mandalorian.
Yeah.
They released that one episode a week, so that would be my guess.
So we'll, I guess, give you a review of as much as we can sometime in the future. In the meantime, you can check us out on Facebook and Twitter and Instagram, where I'm going to be Swolare. What was it going to be? What was the thing?
Oh my God! It was like just
enough pump.
Just enough pump.
Yeah. Although I like hashtag Swolare. And you can check that out, I guess. And also find us on your listening platform of choice. Make a commitment, to kill for us. And, and subscribe to the show.
I'm not getting behind that, listeners.
She'll sneak into my bedroom at night and reprogram me.
That's
I
right.
didn't say that.
Yeah.
And give us a rating and a review. We appreciate it. Let us know what you think about the show because we really want to hear. Give us 5 floating mailboxes. That's something you do on the cover. That's a metaphor for this.
Yeah.
Like the idea of like, oh, here's our front door, but I'm passing through it and waving at you.
Yeah, right.
Like, oh, it's a rocket-powered mailbox.
Yep.
You don't actually have a rocket-powered mailbox. That's just a cover like the dog catching, not a Frisbee, Captain America's shield.
Right.
Thing, right?
Exactly.
But instead, nope, it's real. They have an actual real mailbox that's on a rocket. And
that means that they took the real mailbox and threw it away.
That's a forest for the trees situation, in my opinion. So give us 5 stars instead, and we'll be back in the future to talk about something else. And until then, we're signing off. I'm your host, Caliban.
I'm your co-host, Mikan Hana.
Keep the geek fires burning.
I like ice cream. We could skip the wedding. Have a nice dream. She only let him stick her head in.